Thank y'all for coming back. For this show, y'all, we're just going to keep moving right along. We're going to continue. If you remember the last show, I asked you to imagine how old you were at the time that you were wounded. And I asked you to imagine, what if that part of you was sitting in this chair right now? And as you see, they're boxes. And I want you to imagine these boxes as weight and pressure on the back of a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 12-year-old that's been wounded. The reason the story won't change, the reason we still feel like it was my fault, I'm weak, I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough, is because we're carrying pressure and we're carrying weight that doesn't even belong to us. Actually, we can't even get to the wound because the weight is in the way. There's no way the story is going to change unless you remove the weight. So there are times I have to look at this 7-year-old, this 12-year-old, and I have to say, all of this pressure doesn't belong to you, because maybe what happened to you because your mama couldn't get her stuff together. Maybe that's why it happened. Doesn't mean that I don't love my mama. I love her. I care about her. I respect her. I can forgive her. But I can decide I'm not going to carry her stuff anymore. Now, mama could be dead and gone, and she can say, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to take it. I can decide I'm not going to carry it anymore. Therefore, I drop it. Maybe, in your case, if daddy had stuck around, maybe you wouldn't have been wounded in a certain way. Maybe if daddy had just been there, certain things wouldn't have taken place. You can decide, I'm not carrying daddy's stuff anymore. It doesn't mean I don't love him. It doesn't mean I don't care about him. I love him. I care about him. I respect him. I forgive him. And I refuse to carry what belongs to him. It doesn't belong to me. Therefore, I drop it. Somebody come into my life and do something to my body. I didn't ask for it and I didn't want it. I'm going to give this to the sick bastard that did it to me. I can decide I'm not going to carry this anymore. It doesn't belong to me. If somebody passes away that you love, if you believe in God like I do, I can decide I can't carry God's stuff. I don't have the power of life and death in my hands. I take this and I give it to God. It's not until you remove the weight that you can attend to the wound. So I go back to this part of me that's been wounded and I look and I say, there is no way that could have been your fault. As I've said before, the wound will never, ever change. The war will never change. But I can go back to my story and I can decide with the weight gone, there is no way it was my fault. It was not my fault. Not only do I know it, now I feel it. There's no way I could go back to this part of myself and say, there's no way you were weak. You had to be strong as hell if you made it through that. The wound, again, never changes. But I begin to look at 11-year-old or 12-year-old and say, you had to be strong because you're still here. This is the narrative that I begin to apply to myself. Now, I don't want you to think you're watching this video, you do this one time. I'm listening to this. Let me get on with my life. This is your life. You got to do this for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life, you go back to that wound and you begin to say, you are good enough. You are worthy. But some of you don't even deserve to come near the chair until you drop an apology. So you have to look at this kid and say, I am so sorry that I put all of that on you. I can't get mad at other people if they don't want me when I don't even want me. I have to figure out, how do I remove the weight in order to change the narrative? I told you before, the behaviors are what get you in my office. I want to go back to the behaviors and why we use them incorrectly. Again, the behaviors are attached to the negative story, the narrative. If I believe that I'm weak, that is the exact reason that I walk around ready to fight, because I feel threatened and I feel like a victim. If I believe that this stuff, again, was my fault, when things get hard, then I want to leave. Whether it's thinking about suicide, whether it's doing drugs and alcohol, I just want to get away from what's going on. If I believe that this stuff made me feel stupid, it's very easy for me to say, I don't care anymore. I don't want to try. And if I believed my story that I'm not good enough, especially if this came from me being abandoned, I'm spending the rest of my life trying to find some type of attachment because I don't feel like I'm good enough. If I can change the story, I can figure out how to use these behaviors correctly. Again, I see people that fight the people that love them and please the people that really don't care about them. We're not throwing these away. But if I get my story straight, then I can get my behavior straight. We spend a lot of time trying to change the wound or trying to change mama, daddy, God. We spend time in the wrong places. If I can work on my story, then I can get a handle on this. The only person, especially if you're feeling unstable, erratic, feeling like you're all over the place, you got to go back and pay attention to who you were in this chair. As adults, we can't ever get it together until we learn how to work on, acknowledge at least the part of us that's been wounded. And we get pissed off at other people who don't want us and don't want to fool with us. Can't get mad at me if I don't want you, if you don't even want you. Hang in here with me. We're going to continue to talk about how this weight has stopped us from healing. We're going to continue to talk about how to resource and take care of this part of us that's been wounded. Thank you for watching Life Management with Kelli.